So, Brian J. Smith, you and the company of the Glass Menagerie did something that no other production of this has done on Broadway, and that is you actually got Tony Award nominations, seven
Yeah.
of them. Three of the four members of the cast, the director, a couple of design awards, and Best Play Revival. What do you think was different this time than those other five revivals that had people like Maureen Stapleton, Julie Harris, Jessica Tandy leading them, Jessica Lange? What was different this time around?
Well, I think sort of historically it was a good moment to do the play. I think the original production, which I'm sure if there were Tony Awards when that play was being done, it probably would have won everything because by all accounts we don't have any recordings of it, or we just have secondhand witness information about how amazing it was. But it would have won every single Tony, I'm sure. If they had been around. And I think what happened was that production was so amazing and left such a deep impression on a whole generation of actors. I mean, any acting teacher that came from like the group theater, even like Uta Hagen and Sanford Meisner, all these people, they all say that the greatest single performance they ever saw was Laurette Taylor in the Glass Menagerie. And I think that production haunted people for a couple generations of theater goers and a couple generations of theater makers. So I think that we've gotten to a point historically now where we can see the play for better or for worse without having the ghost of the original production in the back of our minds as we rehearse it or watch it even. It's sort of time to take a new look at it, and I think that's I don't think John Tiffany thought about doing this production in a strategic way like that. This is his favorite play ever. That's why he wanted to do it. But it just so happens that the timing of it's perfect because we really are at a place now, and even economically, like what's going on with the economic and political situation in the country right now, there's just something about it that felt so pertinent. And again, artistically, I think people were ready to see the play in a new way, almost like for the first time.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, I saw a couple of those revivals. I saw the one with, well, actually three of them, Jessica Tandy, with Julie Harris, with Jessica Lange. And they were all fairly traditional. And I think what John Tiffany did was sort of the reinventing of it. And not so much, I mean, you play the gentleman caller, and so you come in later in the play. But earlier on, when it's Cherry Jones as Amanda, Celia Keenan Bolger as Laura, Zach Quinto as Tom, there's a I want to say miming, but what do you call? Because they're doing things without props, but what to educate this non-theater person into what that would be called?
Well, Tennessee, it's funny. John. What John did was he took Tennessee Williams' original introduction to the play, where Tennessee talked about creating a new kind of theater, and that's what he was trying to do with the Glass Menagerie. He wanted to take the naturalism that people were starting to see that was coming out of places like the group theater and the theater guild and things like that, and combine it with a almost European movement-based, very revolutionary style of doing theater, where there wasn't, there weren't glass cubes in the drinks, and there wasn't a refrigerator. He called it plastic theater, which was this kind of combination of poetry and realism. And the funny thing is no one's really taken that into account. I think that again, I've never seen it done on stage before, so I can't attest to what other people did in other productions, but what all John really did was follow Tennessee Williams' instructions. And you talked about some of the movement in the play. There's that moment where Celia and Cherry have a moment at the dinner table where they're kind of cleaning it, but it's almost like this dance, and they do this stuff with their hands and their arms. The funny thing is if you read the actual stage directions in the play, it says something like Laura and Amanda do a ritualized dance around the table as they clean it, something like that. And for some reason, John was the only guy maybe who wasn't afraid of that stage direction and said there's actually something in that Tennessee Williams wanted. And he wanted directors to take risks with the play. He wanted them to stage it in different ways and not just to put it up in that dingy living room. It's a memory play, and it's not a museum piece. It's something that happened in that character's mind, and you should get a sense that it's almost like a dream, not a socio-political, realistic play.
No, I mean, that definitely comes across, and it's just so interesting to see it, having seen, as I said, those other productions, to see it this way, and now it be educating me, that realizing that this is probably the way that Tennessee Williams wanted it. I know that, back to Lorette Taylor, Katharine Hepburn also called it the greatest performance she'd ever seen. Now, she tried a TV movie version of it in the 70s, which didn't quite work. Michael Moriarty played that. Did you watch any of those, like Michael Moriarty in '73, or Kirk Douglas back in the 1950 film version, James Naughton with the Joanne Woodward version that Paul Newman directed? Had you seen any of those, or?
Yeah, when I was in high school, I saw the John Malkovich version of it, and I believe that was the one that Paul Newman directed. Is that right?
Right. Joanne Woodward plays Amanda, and
exactly,
James Naughton plays your part.
Right. And but I was in high school. I was 16 years old. I was a middle class kid in Dallas, Texas. I hadn't lived a lot, and unfortunately, when a play becomes as legendary and gets labeled the great American play, one of them, you start teaching it in classrooms, and it becomes like an academic exercise. I mean, we were writing papers on it, and plays are like living, breathing things, and when you try and turn them into a classroom exercise, it kind of kills it, unfortunately, for kids. Right. So I didn't have a connection to it at that age, at that point in my life, and as a student. I vaguely remember, some of the scenes from it, but I don't remember the gentleman caller scene. I remember. I mean, John Malkovich is he's just got one of those presences you can't forget.
Right.
But thankfully, actually, I'm quite thankful that I never had any other versions of Jim O'Connor to sort of not mess me up. I don't mean it like that, but to even on the most subtle level influence what I might do with the role. I mean, I came at it like it was like a new play, like it was a new role, and I think that really helps.
What's so interesting about your part, the gentleman caller, is it's sort of built up through quite a good chunk of the play. I mean, so you're not on stage for a long time, you're at the theater. How do you, I mean, given that you know what you have to do, there's this quite extended scene between you and Laura, Celia Keenan-Bolger, who's also nominated. How do you keep your energy level up? Because you really do have to come in and make this impact. I mean, go on this dance with her.
Yeah. Well, some nights it could be a challenge, but so we didn't. The way we staged is we didn't have wings. We had all the entrances came in from below. There was the staircase entrance and then the entrance behind the kitchen. So everything else, it was completely surrounded by that black goo. So what I did is I had them set up a little television down in we called it the cave. It was just marked off. We sat back there and we could watch all of everything that was going on stage. And for me, that was really, really important because I felt like I needed to know where Zach and Sherry and Celia were each night. I needed to know where the audience was. What kind of a show are we having tonight? What's the mood out there? What does the audience need me to do when I come in? Do they need me to sort of harness the energy of the night a little bit more, or do they need me to pump it up, or am I just there to like ride the wave of a really great night that those three were having? I think that was really important for me to do, because it's hard to walk up those steps and stand in front of 500-600 people and feel connected and feel that you have a right to be there if you don't know exactly what's been going on throughout the evening. I think some actors are pretty good at just sort of showing up and winging it and just being casual, and acting is just saying your lines and hitting your marks and all that junk. For me, that doesn't work. I've tried it and it just doesn't work. I really need to be a part of the evening, even if I'm not on stage. There's that's what they pay me to do, is to get out there and try and perform at my absolute best. It's like a baseball player. You don't see baseball players even in the pit you know, not paying attention to the game. And why would an actor do anything different? You're going to go out there and try and hit the ball and be a part of it.
Well, that's so nice to hear from you. We were at the Tony nominees press reception last night, and I was talking to somebody who's not in your category but is nominated, who said that they had missed, I think, 4 times their cue to come on in their show. And so you can imagine a little bit of vamping going on. So I think that those 3 really appreciated you paying such attention. You know, in terms of that scene, that extended scene with Celia, having seen the play numerous times, and it's so interesting because she's playing this very wounded young woman, Laura, and the excitement of this gentleman caller, you know, Cherry putting on one of Amanda's dresses and getting excited at this idea of entertaining somebody. She sees this as a hope for her daughter who's got some challenges. What I thought was just a real testament to both you and Celia is the way that scene played, at least the night I saw it, is you almost think, I know what's coming, but yet I'm sort of so hopeful that they are going to connect and that you will rescue her.
Yeah.
And so if you could just talk about, I mean, that's such a gift as to an actor, I think, getting to play that extended scene. What was that like when you sort of started the rehearsal process and just developing it with Celia?
Well, it really is the greatest scene ever written. I mean, there's nothing like that scene. The dialogue and the way the moments unfold, it's so spontaneous and it takes its time and it curves off in these really unexpected directions. And you know, I think for Celia and me, it started actually at the audition. We did the final audition together, and Celia had been told just to prepare the first half of the scene, but when she showed up, they said, actually, we're going to do the entire thing. So we just, you know, I mean, I usually don't wing it, but in that moment we did, and we just read it all the way through. We did the kiss, the dance, we just made it all up, and we were holding scripts in our hands while we did it. And I think what started the process for us in a great way was feeling, first of all, that there's no such thing as a mistake in a John Tiffany rehearsal, that there's no such thing as a mess up, there's no punishment, there's no shame. He actually loves it when things go wrong because that's how you find the great stuff. And me and Celia, I think immediately felt a sense of trust with each other, and we just kind of felt like kindred spirits. And I think that hopefully translated onto the stage. And I mean, you know, when we sat down with that, you know, the candelabra and the gum and all that stuff, it's a really difficult experience to describe. There's some kinds of writing in some scenes that you have to like transform for. You have to like mold and, you know, put your shoulder up and, you know, change your voice and do all this stuff to make it work. The writing in that scene and in that whole play is actually transforms you. It works on you, and you really just have to get along on the ride and not have too many ideas that like mess it up, and just have some fun with it and be alive with it. I mean,
well, when I was doing a little bit of reading on you, and I found this very interesting quote so John Tiffany was telling all of you, and particularly you, to find your unicorn. I mean, the little glass figurine of a unicorn is central in that scene even. So just explain to people just who maybe not be so familiar with the play or certainly that scene, what did he mean by that, find the unicorn?
Well, it's a poetic image, and it can mean a lot of different. That's what's so brilliant about it, is it's kind of ambiguous. It can mean a lot of different things to a lot of people, and you know, a really good director knows exactly what you need without pitting you down to it. And I think what I took away from finding the unicorn in Jim was that sense of fragility and that sense of sort of childlike wonder maybe that he lost, that he's seeing again through that Laura is showing him that he's still got. It's the thing in him that she saw in high school, and that he still has a little bit, but he's been trying to cover it up in order to make it in the world. The unicorn for me is that absolute authentic self that that we all have, but we oftentimes find ourselves living in a society that, you know, laughs at that part of us or thinks that part of us is weird or not acceptable. And that to me is what the unicorn was, you know. And it's kind of funny. You almost feel sort of funny saying it because it's such a vulnerable sort of silly thing. And I can imagine a lot of people would be like, well, there's all this talk about, you know, unicorns. That's ridiculous. That's the point. If people didn't think it was weird, it wouldn't be special and it wouldn't be true. Because we all have that part of us, that thing that's just nothing but love and nothing but like beauty, and that's what it meant to me.
Oh yeah, you know, really, it's so lovely to hear you say that in that way, because I mean, this character is sort of the high school jock, and now it's sort of later on in his life, things haven't necessarily worked out the way he wanted, and I think you really conveyed that conflict with him. I'm curious. I saw you in both the other times you were on Broadway, and Come Back Little Sheba, and then The Columnist. Do you feel like, you know, these are three, the Come Back Little Sheba, I guess, is in sort of a similar time frame to when Glass Menagerie was written. Well, how would you compare those, say, productions? You know, it's very similar kinds of plays in a way.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, William Inge, who wrote Come Back Little Sheba, was actually, him and Tennessee Williams were friends, and sort of similar in a way because they were both such dark guy. I mean, William Inge was a very dark guy, and of course, it did not end very well for him, and he, you know, struggled a lot with alcoholism, and that darkness is in his plays. There's a kind of cynicism, I think, about William Inge, along with the sweetness. But to me, there's something about Tennessee Williams has an affinity for people that we would consider to be freaks. And you know, Turk, the character that I played in Come Back Little Sheba, was someone who was sort of like he was like an idea of that desirable guy that, you know, that breaks, you know, the wife's heart and makes the husband jealous and all that stuff. You know, what I love about Jim is that he seems to be that guy, but he's really not anymore. If he ever really was, he's kind of a mess inside, and I think that's sort of I love William Inge, but the genius of Tennessee Williams is that he saw beneath all that crap, and he saw who these guys really, really are. But they were both great experiences to do. I had a great time working at MTC, working with Esapatha Murkison, and we had a fantastic time. And that was my first Broadway experience, and you know, I basically had to stand on stage naked for a good while. I mean, I'm 32 years old now, so I think those days are probably well beyond me. And
then you get to work with you know, Esapatha Murkison, Emmy winner. Then you get to work with John Lithgow in The Columnist, another multiple Tony winner, Emmy winner. You know, having gone to Juilliard, and I know you've talked about that experience, and I guess they sort of, the idea that it's almost like the army. They need to break you down to build you up. What's it been like? I guess 'cause it feels like you're still evolving. I mean, working with those great actors and now Cherry Jones. I mean, do you sort of pinch yourself that this is happening?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I saw Cherry in Doubt when I was first year of school, and it's one of those performances that changed what I thought was possible with acting on the stage. And you're never done. I mean, Juilliard was a great starting off point, and it gave me, you know, it really gave me a sense of process and a sense of, you know, being a serious actor, that there's nothing wrong with, you know, taking what you do seriously. I think we sort of, you know, tend to, you know, really admire actors these days who are just sort of like flip and chill, and, you know, I don't know, I memorize lines, and, you know, people pay me $10 million to do a film, and I don't know why, you know, that will never be me because of my experience at Juilliard. It's, you know, maybe I should lighten up a little bit, I don't know, but it's my work, and that's how I love to do it. And when you work with people like John and, you know, Cherry and Celia and Esapatha Murkison, you know, these are also people who take their work very, very, very seriously. But the greatness of them, though, is that they don't seem like they do because they're just so effortless. But there's a lot of hard work that goes into it, and I learned so much from those people. Every single one of them have made me much better as a person and as an actor.
Well, there's also, I hope, a little bit of fun, at least surrounding the
Oh
Tony.
yeah, yes,
and I hope that
a lot of fun.
you know there's this coming Sunday are the awards that I think it seems like you're somebody who's just going along for the ride. You're enjoying it. I mean, you're up against three fellows from the Globe Theatre Productions and Reed Birney, but I get the sense that you're sort of just thank you for the invitation. You're enjoying this part of it all too.
Oh yeah, I mean look, I mean, I didn't expect to get nominated. Maybe you never do. But when you see Mark Rylance and Paul Sheehan and Stephen Fry and Reed Birney in the category that you're in, you're just kind of like, all right, I'm ready for I'll see you guys at the bar. This is great, But just to be in that list is very, very, very special, and it's a cool moment for me. And I really am just grateful to be there. It means so much to me.
Well, congratulations and good luck on Sunday.
Thank you so much. Thanks.